I have already made videos about the astrological essences of two trans-neptunian objects, namely Sedna and Biden. I think that what vital astrology is able to say about the essences of such planets demonstrates the power of my concept of thrones and further validates my breakthrough discovery of the relationship between a planet's orbital period and the position of its throne. I plan to make a future video about Pluto because the fact that his throne is at around 12 degrees of Pisces tells us a lot about the nature of his essence. However, no discussion of trans-Neptunian objects would be complete without including Eris, and as we shall see, it is not wise to leave her out. Eris is the Greek name for the goddess of strife and discord. The Romans knew her as Discordia. In most, but not all, versions of the stories about her, she is painted as a baddie, delighting in causing chaos and mayhem by encouraging strife and discord. However, when we understand that the essences of planets always offer us a blessing, and that their fundamental nature is always good and full of light, we begin to see the need to look deeper into what the myths about Eris are telling us. In the major myths about her, Eris plays a role similar to the evil witch in Sleeping Beauty. Because she was always instigating discord, she was not invited to the wedding of the Greek king Peleus and sea nymph Thetis. All the other gods and goddesses were invited, and Eris was supposed to have taken offence at being snubbed. So she had her revenge by throwing a golden apple into the mix. The apple was inscribed with a single word, which in Greek meant, "for the fairest." This caused a dispute between the goddesses Athena, Hera, and Aphrodite, all of whom thought they were the fairest. In the end, Zeus resolved the conflict by having the Trojan prince Paris decide the issue. Athena offered him wisdom if he chose her, and Hera offered him power, but he was unable to resist Aphrodite's offer of the most beautiful woman in the world. There was a sting in the tail of this prize, however, because Helen was already married to King Menelaus of Sparta, so when she ran away with Paris, it caused the Trojan War, which lasted for years and ended in the complete destruction of Troy. This very much seems to paint Eris in dark colours, but if we are more discerning, we may come up with a very different conclusion. Let's look at the above story in the light of an understanding of Eris's throne and what it says about her planetary essences. When we combine that with an understanding of the power ethic, we can comprehend things much more deeply. My planetary essence graph puts the throne of Eris at around 1.5 degrees of Aries. This is very apt because in mythology, Eris was the sister of Ares, god of war, and used to drive him to battle in her chariot along with her son Strife. Like all planets, Eris has two dimensions to her essence, and the combination of these two active essences is what moves our experience through the sign she rules, i.e. Aries. Aries is the sign of self-determination. Its essence is fire of earth. In other words, it represents the choices we have made that determine the nature of our reality. Eris, having her throne at the beginning of Aries, is like the gatekeeper of those choices. That is to say, that her essence is the key to self-determination. When we look at the nature of that essence, it tells us a lot about how to be assertive. And no, it is not about sowing strife and discord. Those are manifestations of not engaging with Eris's essence very well. So what are her two essences? Eris's primary essence is fire of water. So she is an active expression of Leo's creativity, because Leo's essence is also fire of water. This tells us something very important, because Leo energy is a very loving energy. In Eris's dynamic form, it is about choosing the joy of felt knowing. The other dimension of Eris's essence is earth of earth. The earth element is about the sensual reality that we experience through the way things are. So Eris's second dimension is about realizing reality. How do we do that? Her primary dimension tells us it is done through loving creativity. There is something important to notice about that. Leo is the first sign in the cycle of the evolution of life. As such, it is the first step towards the realization of a truth that the sun's creative will points to. Eris's throne, being in Aries, comes after the realization of that truth, which happens at the cusp of Aquarius. So when she chooses felt knowing with her fire of water essence, she is choosing what has already been consciously known via the preceding sign Pisces, which represents the felt knowing of reality. What that all means is that the reality that Eris realizes and the felt knowing she chooses are two different perspectives on the same thing integrated into one. Because it is already known, she knows how to choose it creatively. Her essence is about creatively, lovingly asserting a new paradigm of freedom and self-determination, and she gives us a valuable clue as to how to go about that. Now that we understand Eris's true nature, let's look at the myths again to see what they are really telling us. Before we look at the wedding, there are two other myths which can tell us a lot about the golden apple. One of the 12 tasks that King Eurystheus gave to Heracles was to bring back 3 golden apples from the garden of Hesperides. Said apples were reputed to bestow immortality and the ability to see truth on those who ate them. In another myth, Heracles was out upon an adventure and found a golden apple laying on a narrow path. For some unexplained reason, he struck the apple a blow with his club, which only caused it to grow bigger. When he struck it with heavier and heavier blows, it got so big that it blocked the path completely. What these myths tell us is that violence does not work to overcome the truths that the golden apples symbolize, and that said truths are the key to realizing that life is eternal and we cannot lose it because we are it. Now let's return to the story of the wedding. All the gods and goddesses had access to the produce from the garden of Hesperides, the nectar from which gave them all immortality. So they didn't need to eat the apple, although I suppose that it would have been delicious. So was it really Eris who caused the strife at the wedding? She played her part, but look at how the goddesses reacted. Their behavior was narcissistic and indicative of a dedication to the power ethic. That is the real message of Eris's essence. Love is not one jot narcissistic. If the goddesses had been truly loving, they would have shared the apple, realizing that each was beautiful in her own way, or perhaps they would have invited Eris in and given her the apple. Now we can see why Eris was not invited. She is not the cause of strife. It is a narcissistic reaction to her creatively assertive challenges. There is another important lesson to learn from this story. It suggests a fatal vulnerability that the slaves of the power ethic are subject to. Creatively expressed truths and assertiveness can sow discord in their ranks. This makes Eris's apple the gold hidden in Malicious. I think it is how we can escape the power ethic prison. The lowliest slaves think they are the guards and the warden, but that is an illusion that locks them down more insidiously. It is like the story of how someone beat the devil at a game by placing a mirror in such a way that the devil couldn't avoid being distracted by admiring himself in it. In closing, I want to say that Eris is playing an important role in current geopolitical events. Her current position is at 23 degrees, 46 minutes and 57 seconds of Aries, the sign she rules. She is strong there and is making a strongly challenging square aspect with Saturn's throne, which is at 21.1 degrees of Capricorn. So she is also adding discord and strife to the way that Saturn, Pluto and Jupiter are exposing abuses of fake authority by conjuncting Saturn's throne. She is helping us to comprehend a way to be free. So an understanding of Eris's essence emphasizes the need to do our best to cut our ties to the power ethic and learn to express our freedom with loving creativity. That is all for now. Thank you for your attention.